Heartwarming encounter. Millionaire discovers his missing daughter's necklace on a black street. Jack Thompson stared out of his office windows, gazing at the glittering skyline of Chicago beneath a darkening sky. His heart felt heavy as he thought about Mia, his daughter. Missing. Just days before, she had been in her room, wrapped up in her world of dreams and teenage rebellion. And now? Now, uncertainty clutched at his chest like an iron vice. Wealth, power, it all felt hollow without her laughter, her spirit. The night of the charity gala lingered in his mind like a phantom. An extravagant event, but it was merely a backdrop to his loneliness, each smile from guests a reminder of the warmth he once shared with his late wife. She had taught him the value of love and family, but all he had given Mia was money, neglect, and the burden of living up to a legacy. No one else seemed to feel the anxiety that coated his heart except maybe Sarah. Sarah was a single mom, a fury of resilience living in a neighborhood starkly different from his mansion-laden existence. Through the swirl of media chatter, Jack had heard the news of Mia's disappearance ripple through the very street Sarah called home. In those moments, he began to see what he had always pretended couldn't exist. As the police began their frantic search, Jack stood frozen in the middle of his own personal storm. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days blurred into nights, full of frantic activity, and then that moment came. In an alley slick with grime, Jack spotted something glimmering against the faded asphalt. It was Mia's necklace, a tiny heart pendant that used to shimmer with every laugh they shared. Now, it was cloaked in neglect, a stark symbol of lost connection. Picking it up felt life-altering, as if he had held onto a thread of hope that had been buried under layers of urban despair. He brushed off the dirt with trembling fingers, feeling the necklace's weight anchor his soul. Would Mia understand his struggle to reconnect? A roar of emotion surged within him, igniting a righteous fury against assumptions he clung to all his life, assumptions about class, privilege, and community. It wasn't just about finding his daughter anymore. It was about unearthing the truths he had ignored. As the community rallied, Jack stood at the edge of a reckoning. They were coming together for a common purpose, filling the streets with determination and support. And he was ready to step forward, to acknowledge his privilege, and face the truth. He needed these people as much as they needed him. This was no longer just a singular fight for Mia. It had transformed into a call for understanding, empathy, and unity. With his heart pounding and the weight of the necklace in his palm, he took a deep breath, ready to speak. Would he be heard? Would they embrace his attempts at reconciliation? The crowd buzzed with a mix of hope and anticipation, but then everything faded, leaving only the suffocating silence of his reckoning. Would he rise to the occasion before it was too late? Jack stepped up onto the makeshift stage, his heart racing. The faces in the crowd blurred together, a tapestry of concern and determination woven through the soft glow of streetlights. Each expression seemed to pulse with unspoken worries and hopes. Their unity felt both foreign and familiar. "Thank you all for being here," he began, his voice shaky yet resolute. "I know I don't belong to this neighborhood. I know I've made mistakes." A few murmurs rippled through the audience, and Jack noticed Sarah standing among them, her eyes fixed intently on him. Something in her gaze fueled his courage. He continued, "But I'm here because I need your help. I'm searching for my daughter. Her name is Mia." The name hung in the air, heavy. He could see some faces soften, like he was sharing a piece of his heart with them. But he didn't want just sympathy. He needed them to understand. Mia doesn't just belong to me. She belongs to this community too, even if she doesn't know it yet. A woman near the front spoke up, her voice carrying a weight of experience. Is she in trouble? His heart sank a little. Yes, but we can bring her back. We can do this together. Some people exchanged glances. The fear of strangers mingling with the desire to help. Jack took a step forward, clutching the pendant tightly. This necklace, she wore it all the time. It's a part of her. If you see it out here, please, help me find her. A young man stepped up, one who looked to be in his early 20s. You don't know where she is? He sounded incredulous. How could you let that happen? Jack felt the weight of that accusation barreling down on him. The truth stung, but the anger laced in the young man's words made him defensive. You think I wanted this? He snapped, the desperation creeping into his voice. I didn't know. I was so focused on work and everything else. But something shifted in the crowd. Jack saw sincerity in some eyes, people who understood struggles, who had their own stories of loss. They were fighting for their families too. He took a deep breath, calming the storm brewing within. I can't change the past, but I want to change the future. I need to find Mia, and if you can help me, I promise I'll give back to this community. I'll do more than just throw money at the problems we face. Another figure stepped forward, a woman with warm eyes and steel resolve. You can start by helping us clean up this block. We're doing a community health fair next week, and it could use some funding. Can you do that? Jack nodded, stunned. Yes. Of course. The simple agreement felt transformative, a bridge being built where once there had been a chasm. The murmurs in the crowd shifted from skepticism to hope. As plans began to spread among them, Jack felt a weight lift. He was no longer isolating himself in his grief. He had opened a door. But as the voices around him grew more enthusiastic, another thought nagged his mind. What if finding Mia meant uncovering secrets he wasn't prepared for? What if the streets that seemed so foreign held more danger than he could fathom? The crowd began to disperse as excitement crackled in the air. He turned to look at Sarah, her expression a mix of concern and encouragement. He felt her presence grounding him, a reminder of what really mattered. Jack, she called softly as he moved to leave the stage. Stay focused. It won't be easy. He met her gaze, determination flooding through him. I know. But I have to find her. And just like that, the mission transformed into something much greater than he had initially bargained for. With the necklace shining in his pocket, he was ready to face whatever awaited him. But as he stepped into the crisp night, he couldn't shake the feeling of dread cloaked in uncertainty. What else would he uncover in his quest? Would he be able to handle the truth? Jack's footsteps echoed along the empty streets as he made his way home. The night air was cool, the wind rustling through trees like whispers holding secrets. Each step felt like a step deeper into an unknown that twisted in his gut. Yet, the electrifying hope ignited in the crowd lingered with him, their energy a lifeline pulling him forward. He hadn't realized how disconnected he felt until he stood before that community. Feeling the warmth of shared concern had stirred something long dormant in his heart. It wasn't just about Mia anymore. It was about belonging, about a family that extended beyond blood. But unease gnawed at him. As he reached his apartment building, the well-kept facade was a stark contrast to the rough edges he had seen earlier. He rubbed the pendant between his fingers, the smooth surface a reminder of his little girl. "Where are you, Mia?" he muttered to himself. He stopped searching. That determination pushed him forward, but an unsettling thought made him hesitate. What if Mia had been caught in a web of trouble? What if there were things beneath the surface he couldn't even begin to imagine? He climbed the stairs slowly, each step feeling heavier than the last. As he opened his apartment door, the silence engulfed him. The stark emptiness of the space was like a reflection of his mind spiraling, echoing with what he didn't he say, what he hadn't he done. He cast aside the momentary pang of despair, and busied himself with his phone. Scrolling through old pictures of Mia brought a rush of warmth, but also a sting of regret. Her laughter filled these photos, and he could almost hear her voice calling out to him. He stopped on a picture where she wore the pendant, eyes gleaming with joy. She'd been so full of life, and he had let the current of life pull him away from what mattered most. A knock on the door jolted him from his thoughts. Opening it revealed Sarah, her brow furrowed with concern. "Hey, I was worried about you," she said, stepping inside before he could respond. "I'm fine," Jack replied, though he wasn't sure he believed it himself. "You were incredible tonight," she said, her voice softening. "The way you spoke to them. You really reached people." "Yeah, but what if it's too late? What if I can't find her?" The weight of hopelessness slipped through the cracks of his bravado. Sarah stepped closer, a fierce determination in her eyes. "Jack, it's never too late as long as you keep fighting. You've just started. Use that energy, build it into something more." "Something more? What?" he asked, his frustration bubbling. "Make connections. Talk to people. They might know more than we do. You're not alone in this, remember?" She took a step back, watching him, letting the words settle. He could see the truth glistening in her eyes. She was right. He had allies now, a community willing to stand by him. "Okay," he said, a new resolve settling within him. "I'll start tomorrow. I'll knock on doors, talk to folks. We'll share the story. We'll let everyone know Mia's out there." A flicker of approval touched Sarah's features. "That's the spirit. You'll find her, Jack. I believe that." As she left, he felt lighter, ready to take on the battle ahead. But hidden beneath that relief was a sense of impending dread. The truth he sought might reveal things he didn't want to face, dark corners of this community he had yet to discover. With a flicker of resolve, he dropped onto the couch, his mind racing with plans. What would he uncover when he started pulling at the threads of this community? Would he be ready for whatever shadows lurked behind their smiles? The journey ahead wasn't just about finding Mia. It was about finding himself, understanding the mess he had made of his life. And if Mia's path was entwined with darkness, he would have to confront it head-on. But would he be able to navigate this new world, and could he handle the revelations that lay ahead? Jack woke up the next morning with a sense of purpose thrumming in his chest. The sunlight poured through the window, illuminating the dust motes floating in the air like tiny stars. Today was different. Today was the day he would step outside of his own pain and reach out. After a quick shower and a cup of coffee that tasted more bitter than he wanted, he grabbed the pendant Mia used to wear, sliding it into his pocket like a talisman. With a last deep breath, he opened his apartment door and stepped out into the world. As he walked down the street, he noticed the usual sights and sounds of his neighborhood. The chirping of birds, the laughter of children playing, but everything felt new, vibrant in a way that it hadn't in ages. He passed by the little cafe where Mia loved to eat blueberry pancakes. For a moment, he paused, remembering her tiny hands clutching the fork, her face lighting up at the first bite. The warmth was so palpable it sent a prickling sensation down his spine. He couldn't let memories stay buried in the past. He needed to share those stories with others, and show them Mia was worth searching for. His first stop was at the barber shop down the street, a bustling place full of chatter and laughter. Mr. Jenkins, the owner, was cutting hair while an old blues record played in the background. Jack hesitated at the door before pushing it open. "Jack, you've come to get that mop of yours handled?" Mr. Jenkins called out with a wide smile. "Actually, I'm looking for something a bit different today," Jack said, stepping inside. The warm, welcoming environment relaxed his tense muscles. "I'm looking for my daughter, Mia. She has been missing, and I need help." The shop fell silent. Several faces turned toward him, their smiles fading into expressions of concern. "Mia?" Mr. Jenkins whispered. "We've heard about her. We care. What do you need?" Jack felt the words swell within him. "I want to talk to everyone. I want to share her story, and see if anyone has seen anything." A younger man with tattoos covering his arms spoke up. "I know a few folks in the neighborhood who might be able to help. I'll put the word out." "You're not alone, brother," an older lady called from the far corner. "We'll share her picture. We'll talk to everyone we know." Gratitude washed over Jack like a wave. This wasn't just a group of strangers. These were his people now. Their willingness to help reignited the hope he thought he could never feel again. "Thank you," he said, almost choking on the lump in his throat. "I appreciate it more than I can say." He left the barber shop feeling a surge of energy. He visited the community center, the park, and the convenience store. Everywhere he went, he shared Mia's picture. With each encounter, he felt a knot of loneliness start to unravel. It wasn't just his fight anymore. But then he stumbled upon a pair of old men sitting on a bench near the park, who had watched Jack talking to everyone around them. As he approached them, he could tell they had something important to share. "You care a lot about the girl," the first man said, his tone serious. "But you need to be careful. Not everything in this community is safe. There are shadows here." Jack's heart quickened. Shadows? What could that mean? He wasn't ready for any more secrets or darkness. Mia was his light, and he needed to focus on that. "What do you mean?" Jack pressed, his pulse racing. "Just be sure you know what you're getting into. Sometimes, in the search for light, you have to walk through a darkness you never expected." The weight of their words rested in the air, thickening the atmosphere around them. Jack felt a deep chill run down his spine. What had he missed? What dangers lingered in his own neighborhood while he had been lost in his pain? As he turned to leave, determination surged once more. He couldn't back down now, not when he was so close. But what territories would he need to explore? What truths had he yet to uncover? With his heart racing, he started to walk again, the world shifting around him. Every interaction filled him with hope, but now that hope came with a tinge of dread. What awaited him at the end of his journey? The day had opened up before him, full of possibility and peril. And as he stepped onto the next block, he couldn't shake the feeling that the paths he would follow might lead him somewhere he never anticipated. Would he be ready for what he would find? Jack walked briskly, his mind buzzing with the old man's ominous warning. The sun hung bright in the sky, but an unease settled over him like a dense fog. He had to remain vigilant, but the thought of Mia kept pulling him forward, a beacon in the uncertainty. He turned a corner and entered a neighborhood that felt starkly different. The shops were worn down, and the colors muted, a far cry from the lively streets he had just left. Grit and resilience hovered in the air. He could see it etched into the faces of those who lived here. They seemed to carry stories of their own burdens. Jack approached a young woman sitting on the steps of a worn-out building. She had colorful, braided hair and a piercing gaze. He took a breath. This was the kind of woman who could connect with the heartbeat of the streets. He approached her, clutching the flyer with Mia's picture tightly. "Excuse me," he said, his voice wavering slightly. "I'm looking for my daughter, Mia. Have you seen her around here?" The woman's expression shifted from curiosity to something softer, a familiarity that echoed Jack's own worry. "What does she look like?" she asked, motioning for him to sit beside her. With a mix of confidence and desperation, Jack began to describe Mia, the way her laughter could fill a room, the sparkle in her eyes when she was excited. As he spoke, he caught glimpses of the world around him, the laughter of children playing nearby, the distant sound of a car radio, the smell of onion rings sizzling from a vendor cart. "I'll keep an ear out," she said finally, her tone steady. "But you should know, there's stuff going on around here that's not safe. People don't always look out for each other like they should. The weight of her words hung between them. Jack nodded, absorbing her concern like a sponge. "Thank you," he replied sincerely, feeling the honesty in her. "I just want to find her. I'll do whatever it takes." As he stood to leave, the woman grabbed his arm gently, her eyes serious. "Stay close to the light, but don't ignore the shadows. They can mislead you." A chill crawled up his spine again, but he shrugged it off. With renewed determination, he continued down the street. Every interaction seemed to lay another stone on his path, constructing a makeshift trail towards Mia. He passed a diner, and saw a small crowd gathered outside. Intrigued, he edged closer. It looked like a makeshift memorial, candles flickering softly beside a mural of painted butterflies. Jack's heart raced as he approached and saw that the wall was covered with notes and pictures. Suddenly, he spotted something that made his heart skip. There in the middle of the wall, glinting in the sunlight, was a necklace. It looked just like the one Mia used to wear, beautifully intricate and shining like a star. Could it possibly belong to her? "Hey! Is that?" he started, reaching out instinctively. But before he could touch it, an older gentleman stepped forward, shaking his head. "That is not a good sign, son. People leave things behind when they're taken. You better leave it be." Jack stepped back, feeling a mix of dread and urgency clawing at his chest. "But is it hers? Have you seen her?" The man's gaze softened, but he only shrugged. "Only shadows here, son. And they can lie." The intensity of that moment gripped Jack. He had come here filled with hope, but shadows loomed heavy in the air. What did he really know about the darkness hiding behind the community's smiles? The fire within him flickered, but it wasn't extinguished. He had to venture further, uncover the truths hidden beneath the surface. The trail ahead was growing more treacherous by the second. Taking a deep breath, he squared his shoulders. It didn't matter what lurked in the dark. He would face it. Because if there was a chance Mia was in that shadow, he would find her. As he stepped away from the mural, the necklace still calling to him, the world around him spun with potential danger. What secrets were buried in the alleys of his own neighborhood? And how far was he willing to go to reveal them? Jack turned away from the dim glow of the candles, uncertainty settling deep in his gut. He glanced back one last time at the necklace, wishing he could feel its delicate chain against his fingertips. Instead, he moved on, propelled by the urgency of his mission. He walked deeper into the heart of the neighborhood, where shadows seemed to stretch longer between the buildings. The laughter of children faded into the background, replaced by muffled conversations and hurried footsteps. Jack held his flyer close, eyes scanning every face he passed, searching for a glimmer of recognition, a trace of his daughter in the crowd. The streets twisted like a maze, pulling him into their depths. As he rounded a corner, he noticed a group of teens huddled together, their laughter sharp and clashing with the somber surroundings. He hesitated, uncertain if he should approach them. They seemed lost in their world, but he was desperate. They might have seen Mia. "Excuse me," he called out, his voice slightly higher than usual. The group turned towards him, their laughter dying down. "Have any of you seen this girl?" He unfolded the flyer and thrust it forward as if it were a lifeline. One of the boys, a tall kid with a baseball cap tilted sideways, eyed the flyer but shrugged. Never seen her. But the girl beside him, her bright purple hair standing out against the drabness of the day, leaned closer. "Wait. Can I see that?" Jack nodded, pulling back the flyer and handing it to her. She studied it for a moment before looking back at him, her expression shifting. "I think I did see someone like her. A few nights ago, over by that old factory." Hope flared in Jack's chest, but it was accompanied by fear. What was she doing there? "I don't know, man. Just hanging out with some folks. Not exactly the best crowd, you know?" Jack's heart sank. The factory loomed at the edge of the neighborhood, a decaying relic that whispered secrets of times long past. He thought of Mia. She would never willingly put herself in danger. "Can you help me find it?" Jack asked, trying to suppress the rising panic in his voice. "I mean, can you show me where?" The girl glanced at her friends, hesitation flickering across her face. After a brief moment, she nodded. "All right. But I'm not going in there. Just guiding you to the entrance." Jack followed her, his heart racing. As they walked, the streets felt even darker, every shadow a reminder of his growing anxiety. The girl kept glancing back, likely sensing his unease. "Listen, if she was with a rough crowd, you might want to tread carefully," she said quietly, her voice almost lost in the wind. "Not everyone here plays nice." Jack appreciated her warning. The closer they got, the more dread filled him. What if he found something he didn't want to see? What if he was too late? Finally, they reached the old factory, its iron gate rusted and creaking softly in the breeze. He turned to thank her, but she was already walking away, glancing over her shoulder with a look that said she wanted no part of this. Jack stood alone, staring at the blackened entrance, shadows shifting and swirling as if alive. He hesitated, heart pounding like a drum. Was he truly prepared for what he might find? In that moment, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, praying it was news of Mia. But as he looked at the screen, his breath caught in his throat. The notification read, "Location access granted." Was it a sign? A clue leading him to Mia? His hands trembled as he pressed the button, feeling the weight of that decision settle in his chest. What if this was the moment he had been waiting for, or the beginning of something even darker? With a deep breath, he stepped toward the factory, determination flooding through him like fire. He had to know. What awaited him behind the gate? The gate creaked ominously as Jack pushed it open, its rusty hinges protesting against the intrusion. The air inside the factory was thick with dust and disuse, each inhale carrying a hint of decay that made his stomach churn. Shadows danced along the walls, flickering in the dim light that penetrated through broken windows. He hesitated, his mind racing with thoughts of Mia. Every step he took felt heavier, as if the weight of his fears were pressing down on him. Jack clutched the flyer tighter, heart pounding as he moved further into the cavernous space. He strained to listen, but the silence felt deafening, wrapping around him like a shroud. Were those conversations, or just echoes of his own thoughts playing tricks on him? He glanced around, eyes darting, searching for any sign of life, any trace of his daughter. As he rounded a corner, he spotted remnants of old machinery, rusting beams, and scattered debris that had seen better days. But it was the faint sounds of laughter and music that pulled him further. A flicker of hope ignited. Could Mia really be here, safe among this chaos? He took a deep breath and moved cautiously toward the source of the noise. The sounds grew louder, more distinct. Jack's heart raced, torn between hope and dread. There could be others there, a crowd that might help or one that could harm. He emerged into a large, open area of the factory, and there they were, a group of young people huddled together near a makeshift fire, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames. The sight struck him like a punch to the gut. They were laughing, sharing stories, living a life far removed from his desperate search. At that moment Jack saw her. A girl with chestnut brown hair, tied back in a loose ponytail, leaning against a stack of old boxes. His breath caught, and for a wild second, he thought it was Mia. But as he drew closer, he felt the cruel reality settle again. It wasn't her. She looked up, meeting his gaze with an expression that matched his own mix of apprehension and curiosity. "Can I help you?" one of the teens called out, curiosity tempered by defensiveness. Their laughter faded, replaced by an uneasy tension as they sized him up. "I'm looking for my daughter." "Mia," Jack said, voice steady despite the chaos swirling in his chest. "Have any of you seen her?" The group shifted uncomfortably, the camaraderie broken. They exchanged glances, whispers passing between them like shadows. Jack felt their suspicion. They had probably seen kids disappear before, caught in situations far too complicated for anyone to fix. "That girl over there," one boy suddenly interjected, pointing. Jack turned, following the gesture. There, standing apart from the group, was a girl with dark clothes, her hair obscured by a hood. Something about her stance felt familiar. "Mia?" Jack called out, his voice echoing in the stillness. The girl looked up, surprise flickering across her features. It wasn't a face he recognized, but there was a spark in her eyes. A glimmer of something that made Jack's pulse race. "Who are you?" she asked cautiously, as if she could feel the weight of the moment. "I'm looking for my daughter," he repeated, stepping closer, vulnerability seeping through his bravado. "Have you seen her?" "Please, I need to find her." Her expression shifted. For a fleeting moment, Jack saw sympathy, but then it was gone, replaced by a mask of fear. Suddenly, the moment shattered. An unexpected noise erupted from the shadows. A scuffle, a shout piercing through the air, making everyone freeze. Jack's gaze darted back to the group, alarm flooding his senses. He had to react, had to do something before it was too late. "What was that?" He barely managed to whisper, panic gripping him. Before he could process it, figures emerged from the dark, the atmosphere thickening with tension. There was more at stake than just a search for his daughter, and Jack could feel it in every bone. Was this the danger he had been warned about? What lay ahead might change everything. What kind of fight was waiting for him in the shadows of this forsaken place? Jack's instincts kicked in. He moved closer to the group as the figures stepped into the light. Two men, their faces hard and eyes cold, coming straight from the darkness of the factory's bowels. The laughter and warmth from the fire went out like a blown candle. "Look what we have here," one of them sneered, his voice dripping with menace. "A lost daddy looking for his little girl." The young people around him shifted, backing away, their laughter wiped clean, replaced now by fear. Jack's heart raced, not just from the threat, but the thought of Mia possibly being in danger. "What do you want?" Jack blurted out, trying to sound braver than he felt. He could feel the adrenaline pumping through his veins. He wasn't leaving here without answers. "Easy there," the taller of the two men said, looming closer. "Just making sure nobody gets lost in our little neighborhood. It's dangerous for a lone man." Jack's mind reeled. "I'm just looking for my daughter." "I know she is out here," he insisted, desperation rising. He turned slightly, eyeing the girl in dark clothes, who had looked at him moments before. "You saw her, didn't you? Can you just tell me?" As he spoke, the two men exchanged glances, amusement dancing across their faces. "Oh, you think she is just gonna come running to you?" The shorter one laughed, his voice rough. "You don't know the half of it." "Enough." The girl stepped forward, pushing her hands against the chest of the shorter man, but her voice trembled. "He's not here to cause trouble. Just let him look for her." Jack felt a spark burst in his chest. There was still something human in this chaotic, crumbling world. Maybe it was hope, or maybe that glimmer in her eyes meant she held more than just fear. "Listen," Jack said, looking each of the young people in the eye. "If you care about Mia, if you care about anyone in this place, you'll help me." The taller man laughed again, but the color was fading from his cheeks. "You think you can just come in here and demand something? It doesn't work like that." "Let us see how brave you are," the shorter man taunted, stepping closer to Jack, fists clenched. Jack remained steady, heart pounding, ready to defend himself if that's where this was heading. "I'm not afraid of you," he said firmly. "But if you know where she is, I swear, I won't let you hurt anyone. I want to protect her, and I want to back down." A thick silence hung in the air, tension crackling like static electricity. The girl watched, her wide eyes fluctuating between hope and fear. Jack saw her glance back, hesitation occupying the space of her resolve. Suddenly, one of the other young people whispered, "He is telling the truth, isn't he?" Jack seized that moment, locking eyes with the girl again. "Please, if you know anything about Mia, you have to tell me. I can help you too. Just let me know what has been happening here." The atmosphere shifted just a little. The young people looked at each other, uncertainty mingling with the flicker of trust that Jack had kindled. But just as they looked ready to respond, the men exchanged another glance, displeasure darkening their faces. "You're digging your own grave, old man," the taller guy growled. Jack felt a swell of determination. He wouldn't give in. He fought for Mia, and he'd fight for these kids too. The girl stepped further forward, stirring the ashes of hope inside him. "I can take you to her. But we have to move fast. They can't see us talking." "Let us go," Jack said, ready to follow. Would she lead him to Mia, or further into danger? Just as they began to move, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed from behind, the shadows creeping closer. Jack turned, pulse racing. It felt like something monumental was about to happen. What awaited him beyond the darkness? Would he finally clutch the truth he longed for, or would that darkness swallow him whole? The moment felt stretched, suspended in midair. Jack's senses heightened, his breath caught in his throat. Behind him, the heavy footsteps had begun to close in like a tightening noose. The factory loomed, its walls whispering secrets of despair and danger. "Quick, this way," the girl said, grabbing Jack's arm, her grip surprisingly firm. He could see the urgency in her eyes, a blend of fear and resolve that mirrored his own. They dashed toward the shadows, weaving through the flickering light of the dying fire and the scattered debris that littered the ground. Jack couldn't shake the apprehension nestling in his chest. Every part of him shouted to move faster to protect this girl, and to find Mia. "Where've you seen her last?" he demanded, trying to keep his voice low, barely above a whisper. "Not far," she replied. "But we can't go the normal routes. These guys, they've been watching us, waiting for someone like you to wander in." Jack felt a shiver run through him, an awareness of the trap he might be walking into. "What do you mean?" "Those men you saw? They run this area. They have their own rules, their own game. If they don't like you, it doesn't end well." "What game?" Jack pressed, desperate for clarity. In the dark, they rounded a corner, and the girl guided him into a small alleyway tucked behind crumbling bricks. "They take people," she whispered, her voice trembling a little. "Mostly kids. They use them, or worse." Jack's stomach twisted. He had to focus. "You've been here too long. You must know how to get out." She shook her head, frustration pinching her features. "We don't get out? Not unless someone helps us." "And you?" She hesitated, her gaze flickering back towards the opening where the men might emerge at any moment. "You can't be their target. Not now." As they lingered in the shadows, Jack's mind raced. He needed a plan. If these men were involved in something so dark, he couldn't leave without bringing this to the light. "Would you help me?" he asked cautiously. "If I can find Mia, maybe we can help all of you." Her eyes widened, the sense of hope piercing through the fear. "You really think you can?" "Absolutely," Jack replied, determination fueling his words. "We have to try." Suddenly, a scuffling noise echoed behind them. Jack turned, dread pooling in his gut, as he caught sight of the tall man stepping into the alley, flanked by the shorter figure. Well, what do we have here?" The tall man growled, his voice dripping with contempt. "Thought you could slip away, did you? Run!" Jack shouted, but it was too late. The weight of the world constricted around him, as the girl pulled back in terror, her bravado replaced by panic. Without thinking, Jack lunged toward the men, ready to carve a path to freedom, to push past them and out into the night. Adrenaline surged like a wild river through him. He could feel every ounce of fear in the air, but the thought of Mia gave him strength. In that moment of reckless defiance, he felt the fiery pulse of bravery build in his chest. He wouldn't just fight for himself. He'd fight for every young life tangled in the grip of the men who would have them silenced. But as he stepped forward, something flickered in the corner of his eye, a glint of silver. Jack halted, heart pounding, staring at the object on the ground. A necklace, delicate and shimmering in the low light. It was Mia's. As he bent to pick it up, the world around him faded, leaving only the weight of the moment. What had he just stumbled upon? And could this be the key to unraveling the deeper secrets entwined in this darkened alley? Jack's fingers brushed against the familiar pendant, the tiny hard shape burning with significance. For a fleeting second, he was back in the warmth of his memories, Mia spinning in circles, her laughter ringing clear like a bell. When he stood up, the necklace felt as if it was both a blessing and a burden, weighing heavy in his hand. The two men were looming closer, shadows stretching, but Jack's heart thrummed with a force he never knew he had. Mia depended on him. There was no turning back now. "Get back," the tall man growled, narrowing his eyes and stepping forward. Jack's instincts kicked in, propelling him through a cluttered space of rusted machinery and broken glass. He dashed through the alley, the dogged determination in his heart illuminating the darkness surrounding him. "Which way?" he gasped, the girl trailing close behind him, her breath coming in quick bursts. "I don't know," she cried. "They have patrols everywhere." Every second felt like a lifetime, the fear twisting in his gut like a fiery coil. But one thing was clear, he had to reach Mia. As they careened down a narrow passageway, Jack spotted an old emergency exit. "Over there." He pulled at the rusted door handle, adrenaline surging through him as the door creaked open. The girl nodded, drawing closer to him, her fear now mingled with hope. But just as they shot through the door, the sound of shouting echoed behind them. The tall man's voice carried through the shadows as he barked orders to the others. Jack's heart pounded fiercely. They had to be quick. "Wait! We can help each other." The girl's eyes were wide, catching Jack's attention. "You have to trust me. We need a distraction." Without thinking, Jack nodded, instinctively feeling the bond they'd forged in those desperate moments. "All right. What do we do?" "We go for the lights," she shouted, pointing upwards to the flickering overhead bulbs casting ominous shadows. "We can cause chaos while we escape." Jack's mind raced. It was reckless, but what choice did they have? They clambered over debris, racing towards the dim light of the controls. Jack's breath hitched as he reached out, slamming his palm against the power box with all the force he could muster. "Now!" A flicker, a buzz, and then the lights exploded, casting the entire area into darkness. Jack felt exhilaration and fear wash over him as the surprise echoed off the walls, followed by the yells of confusion from the men. It only took a second for them to regain their composure, but that was all the time Jack and the girl needed. They sprinted down the alley, weaving in and out of shadows, heartbeats matching the rhythm of chaos behind them. "This way," she urged, directing him down another street, adrenaline propelling them into the night. Jack barely felt the sting of adrenaline coursing through him. All that mattered was the need to find Mia, and the spark of courage ignited in his chest. A wave of determination surged as they approached the community that had initially welcomed him. Deep down, he felt every layer of his past mistakes peel away, replaced with the fresh urgency of a father's love and responsibility. He'd made that first connection, and now it was time to ensure Mia knew she had allies as well. Suddenly, as they crossed an intersection, they spotted a group gathered, a small crowd lit by the flickering of candlelight and murmurings of hope. Jack stopped, eyes widening, heart racing again. There were people from the community, the familiar faces he had met before. And there, right in the center, was Sarah, her voice rising with fervor. "She's out there. We can't stop searching," she called out, urgency wrapping around her words, like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. "Sarah!" Jack shouted, breaking free from the shadows. As she spun around, shock flitted across her face, but was quickly replaced by hope. "Jack!" she exclaimed, rushing towards him. "You found something?" "It's Mia," he replied, breathless. "I need help. She's in danger." "What happened?" Sarah frowned, her brow furrowing with concern. "I think I know where she might be. Uncle Wall. Gang. Activity, it's all connected. But I saw her necklace, and she is still in danger, but I can't do this alone." Jack's words tumbled out, urgency spilling through each sentence. The crowd felt electric, energy thrumming in the air as they embraced resolve. "We can rally together," Sarah declared, her voice steady, casting a spell of unity around them. Jack could see the determination flicker amongst them, hope cradled in their hands. "Let us go!" someone shouted, and one by one, they began to follow Jack's lead. He felt overwhelmed with gratitude, his heart swelling, realizing how quickly love and support had grown in a time of chaos. With Sarah leading, they surged forward, the power of community igniting their collective heartbeats into rhythm. Each step they took felt stronger, the shadows receding under the light of unity. As they moved through the neighborhood, every alley and corner became radiant with purpose. The crowd swelled behind him, the thrumming energy feeding into Jack's resolve. It was no longer just his fight, it was theirs too, and suddenly a glimmer caught his eye. In the distance, he saw the dimly lit entrance of the old factory, the very place where he had glimpsed the edges of the darkness encroaching around Mia. Jack stepped forward, urgency pulsing through his veins. "That way!" he shouted, hope spilling from his heart. As they dashed towards the factory, Jack felt the warmth of the community around him, a force no darkness could extinguish. He was not alone in this battle. Together, they would find Mia. Together, they would rise against the shadows. He could feel the strength amplify within him, igniting as they pushed through every barrier, stringing together connections of the past and present. No more running away now, he would stand firm, fueled by the brightness of their unified purpose. Right then and there, Jack surrendered to hope. He couldn't know what awaited him, but one thing was clear: love throughout community, the bond they shared, would light the way to bringing Mia back home. The shadows would not prevail. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support, so don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of helping the channel through these actions.